Good. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is our first budget workshop session. We're going to have a session today that will kind of run as long as we need it to for the categories I'll show you up here, the departments that are going to be presenting. Then we're also going to run a second workshop this coming next Tuesday. Similar timing, and we'll have that up on the website so you can see the timing for that. Any departments that we didn't get to today will be picked up on Tuesday. Let me just get my.
Is this being taped and going online, or?
It is,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
This is it's going to be a lot of discussion. So we're rather than have people stand at the podium, we're going to have our department heads come up, sort of sit, work through line by line. We don't have public comment in these workshop sessions. However, we have pieces of paper and some writing utensils in the back. So if you do have questions, if you have comments, if you would like your question responded to and maybe we don't get it today, put your email address on there. We can try to email you back. But that will go for today and for Tuesday as well. For today, we have my overview, which is absolutely not going to be a half an hour. And then we're going to go right into the town clerk and more than likely finish up recreation and hopefully receiver of taxes and the town assessor as well. Then we're going to go into our finance meeting, sort of in between these sessions. And then we'll go into our agenda meeting, and then we will finish up with the town attorney right afterwards. We also have a special meeting that should only take a few minutes. So we will move into that more than likely before the town attorney session, just so you know sort of the cycle of events for today. All right, so we've actually had some changes since the tentative budget was filed with the town clerk. The major change that I've made is that we were able to negotiate our health insurance from an 8.5% increase down to what we feel is a really good adjustment, down to 3% increase. So actually some of the numbers you see here are going to be different than you would see on the budget that is online right now and with the town clerk's office. So some of the themes that will kind of carry throughout today and for next Tuesday, we do have a slight shift in the town's taxable base. I mention this only because if you're looking at the rate of increase, which is about 4% for the homestead, the residences, our non-homestead increase is not as much. And because I anticipate questions about that, I wanted to just kind of briefly go over, and I won't explain it near as well as our town assessor will, but hopefully you'll kind of get the gist of how these things are figured through and how those rates are set. So we had a bit of a shift. Most of that, I think Eric had mentioned, was based on, is it Harmon Grove? Is that what it's? So we had a lot of housing that's been built in the past year, and they happen to be higher price points. So that's going to pull more of the levy into homestead versus non-homestead. So you'll see that shift in the proportion. And I have this throughout the presentation here. We also saw some increases in our senior and disability and volunteer firefighter exemptions. Those I articulate in here as well, so you can see actually what they look like. We are also continuing a phase of debt pay down. We have some bands that we need to pay off, or else we would have to roll them into bonds. We don't want to do that because we don't really have a favorable interest rate right now for that. So we're looking to pay those down using fund balance. We've also had obviously that 3% increase in health insurance. The employee retirement system and the police and fire retirement system also had pretty significant increases. And then just general expenses. We talk a lot about how inflation is going up for residents. That's no different here. We're paying a lot more for things the same way that all of you are. We also are anticipating that our highway fund balance is going to be higher than our fund balance policy allows for. So part of the investments that we'll be making in capital equipment and part of the debt we'll be paying down, we'll be pulling from fund balance to do so. So that's going to fix two things. One, we'll be able to pay off our debt and invest in equipment that will be used for years and years. And then we'll also be able to get our fund balance into that 25 to 50% that we'd like it to be in. We also have, just as part of the conversation today, I wanted to highlight some of the services that we offer as a town that are really coming up year after year in deficit, and how sort of we plan to address that. Part of that is yard waste pickup. I feel like we talk about that every year. And then also the transfer station. So this budget includes a proposed closing of the transfer station on March 31st. That's when their year ends. They go from March to March. That's why the end date them. So this is going to be a little bit different from when I had initially pulled this out. I think we had it at $2.88. So just health insurance brought us from $2.88 to $2.84. So you can see how some of these one line item can have a really significant effect on the tax levy. So as I mentioned, it's about a 4% increase. We are under the tax cap by a couple $100,000. So we're not quite hitting the ceiling there. If we look at an average assessment value of $275,000, this would equate to $30.25 in an increase over the general fund and the highway fund combined. That again represents a tax levy that is really only increasing 1%, but the way that it's pushed out to residents in homestead and non-homestead is how the 4% comes out, and I'll have to look what the non-homestead actually went up to. I'm focusing mostly on the homestead. Our appropriations, actually in the general fund, we'll be spending about 1.2% less in this fiscal year. Highway, we're seeing a 10% increase. Most of that is because of the capital expenditures that we plan on making. The fund balance that I put in there to be used against this budget does not include any recurring costs. So capital purchases, band payoffs, and in one case, a bond payoff that's going to drop off after 2025. So I'm going to go back to our exemption increases. In 2023, we had 2. We went up to 30. Those sort of rolled over into this year. Eric is fantastic at giving us all of this information, but you can just sort of see the changes and exemptions. And these are things that we want to be able to offer to our senior citizens, to our disabled citizens, and then also to our volunteer firefighters. So there is a cost to allowing those exemptions. So we want to just make sure that when you're seeing the assessment value, that total value go down with these exemptions, some of that is represented here. Fund balance. This always seems to be a topic of conversation, so I've noticed. I put a little asterisk up here because actually this is different from the budget as well. In our highway department, one of the pieces of equipment that was proposed to be part of this investment this year was able to be purchased in this fiscal year. We were able to get a used version that I think was like $10,000 less. Because of that, we were able to pull $30,000 out of the equipment line as well. So the proposed equipment investments line is going to be a little bit different than you'll see on the tentative. We were able to pull that down. But the totals here that you see for general fund and highway only include these line items here. You'll notice that I didn't include the bond payment in the general fund because it's not dropping so significantly next in 26. So I didn't feel comfortable adding that in because it really still is going to be a recurring cost, at least for the next couple years. I did put the payments there so you could see how it's going to drop down a little bit, but not quite as much as we'd like. So I excluded that from the fund balance use, but I did include it for highway. That $236,000 drops off to almost nothing in 2026. So these we can all consider to be sort of one-time purchases and pay downs. The proposed closure of the transfer station. The rationale here is that we just have seen the usage drop down. The disposal costs, which means the cost of having a truck come and take all of that refuse away, is becoming increasingly expensive. The last 5 years, I think I calculated an average of $19,000 it costs the town just to keep it open. And it's only serving 199 out of about 8,300 residents. So just to give you a graphic, and this is to the left is 2025, we can sort of see where the revenue in green is really not hitting where the expenses are. And that's been a pretty consistent, over the last 6 years anyway. And this last one here in 2024, that only represents about 3/4 of the year. So we just pulled it at a place in time. Yard waste pickup. We spend a lot of money on picking up yard waste, and although nobody likes to see the fees increase, myself included, we have to either increase fees or find ways to reduce costs. So this year, we're going to find ways to reduce costs. We've had some internal conversations about ways that we might be able to adjust the town code in order to do this. One of the things, and it sounds sort of silly, but it makes a big impact, is promoting the use of actual paper bags for your yard waste versus cans or barrels. They're easier to pick up, they go quicker. It's just, it makes our labor costs a lot less if they can kind of motor through. So if we can start promoting that, we might be able to see at least a shift downward. And then also we've had a number of complaints about potentially residents who have landscaping businesses who might, go and work on other properties even outside of Niskayuna. They're bringing that yard waste and putting it out in front of their home, even though we're really intending to pick up the residential yard waste from the home that we're picking it up from. We sort of see that being abused a bit in a couple of instances, and that does add week after week. Constantly picking up that yard waste does add to cost as well. So we're going to try to put through some proposed changes to the town code, sort of defining what residential yard waste is. This is not, you have a landscaping business and we're going to take it all away. And then also limiting the number of yard waste containers. We're trying to figure out that sweet spot because we, of course, don't want to restrict people from cleaning up their yards, putting the cans out that represent their property, but then we also don't want people abusing it. And this is an easy way to make sure that they can't really. So we're still working on what that number is, but you'll be seeing that in the next few weeks or months. And then should there be an issue, we would discontinue service to those repeat violators. So instead of fining them or something, they would just lose the privilege of having pickup service. So these are some of the things that we're talking about. We're going to kind of attack this from the other direction instead of raising fees. Okay, I am going to wrap this up and we're going to move right into oh, yes. Let me pull out, pardon me for a moment. I'm going to pull this down because I'm going to get this back too.
Is that good? Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me? Is this on? Hopefully. Okay. This is a sort of boring section. There's not really a whole lot of changes here. I'd say obviously the salary for the board members and the town supervisors are staying as is because we have not had any indication from our salary committee that changes will be made for next fiscal year. I certainly hope for all of us that we're able to come together and have a conversation about that sooner rather than later. But since we haven't, they're not included in here. The other thing that has been pulled off of here, if you look at in the A fund under 1220 supervisor, we did have the miscellaneous and contractual. We paid the public relations firm out of this line. During the current year, we had pulled monies into it. We removed that contract for now. I said when I was pushing for this that I really kind of wanted to evaluate and make sure that the setup was worth it. So far, they have been fantastic, but that doesn't mean I won't find somebody that can work as a confidential secretary who has that background. And then that way we're not sort of double paying. As of right now, I have not hired a confidential secretary. So some of those monies from now until the end of the year can be used to put toward the public relations contract that is existing. The comptroller, the comptroller section here, we've mentioned this a few times, we're actively looking for a comptroller. We have a range of salary, and we're trying very hard to make sure that whoever we hire, we're giving them a competitive salary, but not something that we feel is in excess of what their experience and what their background lends to. So we are a little bit closer to finding a comptroller, but we have yet to make that decision. So we're going to kind of keep the higher end of the salary in there just in case, which was what our comptroller who exited was making. However, that may change before the end of the year, depending on who we end up hiring. Let's see. I think we kept most of everything else the same. Now, do you guys have any questions on these first initial ones? They were sort of boring. Good, in a good way. All right. So do we want to move on to town clerk?
We can tell her.
Okay. Well, mine isn't too much more exciting. It's pretty straightforward. Most of what we have has stayed the same. We did go up a little bit in the training. There is an out-of-town conference that I'm hoping to go to. And otherwise, everything else stayed the same in the town clerk section. If you go over to page 3, records management. We did come down a little bit with the equipment or supplies and equipment layout was taken away.
I think that was a desk, right? Is that what it was? You bought a desk, I think, one year, and you're obviously not going to buy a
Yeah,
desk next
no,
year. or something.
we're not buying any equipment.
One question I did have was about that Iron Mountain storage contract.
Oh, yes.
And that's
Yep.
like, okay.
So that we canceled. That was a contract that we've had since I've been here. And when we really looked into it, there were 8 boxes they were storing. For the cost of it going up to this year would have been like almost $3,400. So that was ridiculous. So we canceled that contract and I have the boxes down in my records room.
How did that get started? Do you recall how we?
That was with the former clerk. I
Okay.
mean, how they ended up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for looking into that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Michelle, your line did go down a little bit in training though. And are you okay with that? Are you comfortable with where that is right now?
So the training, the only thing that I'm concerned about is that we do have other, besides the Town Clerks Association, that's a really good one to go to. And it is out of town this year. But I do have some association fees that come up too. So last time we had to add extra into that budget. We had to transfer. So you might want to bring it up a little bit more. We're involved with 3 different associations.
Or
Town
was
clerks.
it on the first budget or the first pass we got? It was at about 1,500, and now I'm looking here. I think it's at 6. Is that right?
Yes.
So are you recommending we try to go back?
Go
to
back up,
15?
I would say yes.
I was also wondering if that included our deputy town clerk. Does she go to those?
She
As
does
well?
go to them, yes.
Okay.
But that would be sufficient.
Okay.
She doesn't go to the out-of-town one.
Okay.
And Michelle Carroll also goes to training too. But I think that should cover us. And then the registrar's line, I think for supplies and materials, I think we should go up to at least 1,000.
What line is that, Michelle?
That is on page 6.
Thank you.
The paper that we use for the birth certificates is expensive, and I don't know if that would cover it.
This is 4,100.
Yes. Yes, correct.
Is 1,100? I didn't look at the year to date. We budgeted 1,100. Do we think we're past that now or?
No, I think 1,000 would be fine.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
So year to date, it's expended $445, so there's $655 there currently.
Which, this is the time of year we usually
Yeah.
get as
Oh,
much
okay.
as we can. Because a lot of times that going into the next. And,
I'm sorry, Michelle.
go ahead.
Historically, we spent $600 in 2022, $300 in 2023, and $445 in 2024, which is why we decreased it.
Hmm.
So maybe meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's your number? You're asking for 11. We're saying 8. Go 9.
9, that's fine.
950.
Okay. The service on equipment, that's important because we use typewriters. And there's always something that could go wrong with the typewriter. So we really need to keep those.
We had a thought about that. Is there a potential to use this year's money that we have left and actually have it serviced before we have a problem, and then we don't have to worry about it in 2025?
We
Because
could-
you haven't had it serviced since 2019, according to the accounting software.
Oh, no, we've had it serviced since then.
I wasn't charged there, but you know what I'm saying? Like maybe
Okay.
be proactive about it
Yeah,
and
we
have it
could look into
serviced
that.
while we have the money this year.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
potentially we don't, if something happens next year, we'll find the money. Obviously, we're not going to leave them with a broken typewriter.
Yeah.
But that's just a suggestion.
Okay.
I think that's all right.
Anything else?
Well, I would like to talk about salaries. I did put in for Michelle Mazurik going into a supervisory line at a 16. And I also, of course, Michelle Carroll. I mean, we haven't gotten cost of living increases at all. And as for the town clerk's line, I've been here for 13 years without an increase. We do a lot of work in that office. And I really would like you guys to think about an increase. And I know that committee didn't really,
We haven't gotten anything, so I'm going to ask my board members to also kind of reach out to their nominees for that, to try to get that committee to come to some kind of.
I spoke to one of them yesterday, I believe, and it doesn't seem like there's too much movement there. I think they've had one meeting, and it doesn't seem like there's much movement.
I believe they've had more than one, but there's one person who's not seeing things like everyone else. So they're at like a standstill. So I suggested that they just write up their recommendations of like what the like-minded people think and then what the not like-minded person thought and just submit it to us, just to kind of be done with it and move forward
Right.
instead of just staying stuck.
So we're
Yeah,
going to,
we had 2 proposals to work with.
I think we all got to sort of get on those committee people just to give us, as you said, Jessica, something. So, okay, we got a little off base here with that.
that's okay.
Did you meet with Beth before about any of
Yes.
this? You did.
I did.
Okay.
Yep.
And those numbers didn't get in here. Is that what you're saying?
They are they are in part of what Aaron has, I think.
I think the cost of living adjustment was entered, but you had some other. there
Yeah,
was something
Michelle's
else.
line
It's
was
there.
entered.
It's there.
Yeah, I think we did do it. I think I remember having this conversation.
Yeah,
I had done a list of the ones that because we had sort of,
right. Remember, she
I'm
wasn't
pretty
on that.
sure we
They weren't
looked
on
back
that
We
at
just
it.
verified it.
Yes,
we're
yeah,
looking
you're,
at it,
so
Okay.
what you requested is already in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
So that's good, right?
That's
For
it,
Michelle
yeah.
Mazurek.
For Michelle
Yes.
Mazurek, yeah.
Yes.
Michelle Carroll's, I think, in there someplace.
She's
She's
part-time
Part-time.
hourly,
Yep.
so I don't know whatever happens.
We
now.
haven't gone that far
No,
yet.
okay, all right,
These were just, we only looked at prior salaries, by
okay,
contracts.
all right.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I get to ask my question.
Yes,
So what you see right now in the budget for your department, does that adequately provide for you for next year?
yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Supervisor, what are we doing about the town historian line? Do you want to just go over those briefly?
Yeah, I wrote some notes here.
There really isn't anything significant. It's very small.
Yeah, give me the line again. Is it,
A007510. I have to keep switching my glasses.
so this kind of goes along with a conversation we have to have today anyway. But if we're looking at this, we had budgeted the $3,000, which I think included the second half of the graphic design contract for the logo. We pulled over 3,000 based on the presentation by the logo committee. I think just as a sort of an arbitrary number of how much it would cost to change some of the things over, maybe add some, what do we have here? Oh, I'm sorry. This is page 9. It's kind of nestled into the community program stuff. It's a really small section, but I guess I'm interested in thoughts on this because I know we have to talk about the logo and moving forward on that. If we do pass the logo as is, what kinds of changes are we going to make? I'm not sure if the committee did some research and that's what Beth had put in here. I left it as is because we hadn't really had a conversation about what to do with the logo. But I'm up for suggestions. So we sort of just pulled over the 3,000. It might not be a bad idea if we do end up, passing the logo, then we would have some funds to sort of change a few things, maybe every year do a little bit. Or if we end up going back to the drawing board, we probably would need some funds to pay the graphic designer to make changes as well. So
You
I
re-
feel like we should have some money in there.
You really have $4,500 available?
I don't think we've paid the.
Well, because we've encumbered 1,500 and that 1,500 has rolled from 2023. And if we don't use it in 2024, when I close, it's going to roll again.
45 is left in there now? We
Yeah,
budgeted 3?
well, in essence, because there's a $1,500 encumbrance that's not really gone against anything.
They didn't put their bill in?
So last year it was 3,000 and then we expended half of it and the extra 15 got rolled into this year. And then this year we haven't paid anything yet in 2024.
We should find out if there's outstanding bills from the graphic designer.
The graphic
Right.
designer's work is completed, I believe. So there should be
I don't know if
there should
she's,
be a bill from there.
yeah, because I don't think we've paid out of there, but we haven't. So we should find out what that, she might be just waiting to see if she's making any more changes, maybe. I don't know. But I feel like maybe we need to have this conversation first and then go back to this.
Yeah, I think there was something with what we were paying her that we got to have 2 revisions included in our payment.
Yeah,
I remember that for some reason.
Yeah, I do kind of remember that too.
Well, let's leave it the way it is for right now. There might be some money left over from what you're saying in prior years, and we'll just leave it where it is for right now.
Yeah.
Any change in doing a logo, as we've discussed, is going to be a multi-year
Mhm.
type of rollout expense, if you will, right? So,
We're not gonna change all
no.
I mean, those are
Okay.
discussions that we had in the logo work group too, that it's going to take years to change over the trucks and the
Right.
police uniforms, and
Right.
it's not going to happen in 1 year.
Right,
but there's an initial cost for the initial design.
right, the work that's already been done,
Right.
so.
Right.
we'll
Which
wait and
we
get
should
that bill.
have, we have that money now and we have excess of that money is what the understanding is. So we're good with the graphic design. If we were to stop right now with the 2 revisions, we'd be fine. And then any money budgeted next year would be for anything we would have to, we'd sort of make a plan to change and a little bit here, a little bit there. So maybe we table this section even until next time so that we have a little bit more information about what we're doing with the logo too.
So the question is, do we have $3,000 in there now or more?
We have more,
More.
but that's because the graphic designer hasn't submitted her bill.
Okay.
So we do, but not really.
So there may be about 3,000 left over after that's paid. About, yeah, okay.
It looks like the rest of the lines, we got training and memberships went down. I assume the new historian probably went to some trainings this year that she will likely not have to go to next year. And then our town historian we're working on going after some grants for the train station at Lions Park. That's been a sort of ongoing project, but we're unwrapping it and we're not sure what kinds of costs we may incur as even trying to find somebody to help us write like a really big grant so we could get all of those changes fixed. So that's a sort of, that's an up in the air thing as well, but hopefully we'd be able to find grants that would cover all of those expenses. But so they're basically the same. And if we table the logo just until after we figure out what we're doing with it, we can just come back to that line. Okay, did I miss any other sections? That one's kind of, okay. All right, so we can move on to community programs, is that what, recreation?
You got unmute, you're on. Tap it.
Okay. All right. I start on page 7 with 7020 community programs admin. There's a change in the first line that's for Jean and myself, and I'm assuming that's just for COLA. And then the line below it is for the part-timers, which are Julie and Carly. And then everything else in there stays the same. And except for the miscellaneous and contractual, we had spent quite a bit this year over on new desks for Jean and Julie's department, but this will bring us back to normal. So I wasn't able to buy anything like a printer, which is much needed. So it prints 1 page a minute. So, and that's for that. Then I jumped down to the community center, which is 7140. These are all basically things that are done by your department, which I have really no control over. So they look good to me. Then to page 8 for the town pool. There are just a few changes, one of which are the swim lessons that went down a little bit. Looks like we were a little bit tighter with our staff, thanks to our pool manager. Chlorine has gone up, and that's due to the wonderful weather we had. So I can't really complain about it because the sunnier it is, the more chlorine you burn, and chlorine's expensive, but still you need it to run the pool. So that's that. Telephone and communications went up a bit. That's to be. And as far as utility stays the same, and miscellaneous and contractual went down a little bit. And the next one is the swim team, which is 7182. The only thing that went up is the miscellaneous and contractual, and that includes T-shirts for the swim team. But we also increased the registration fee to envelope that in, to take care of it. So that should be good. Then the driving range is 7185. Went down a little in personal services. We've got it down to a science over there.
That seems to be going up and down over the years. It was 13, then it was 7. then
Yeah, it was
back to
Stefan went,
12.
he went up to because he's basically the only one that works over there, and he went up to like $23 an hour, but he still only works maybe 15 hours a week. But instead of having a full-time staff over there like we used to, between him and the ball picker or the ball dispenser, I think it's the perfect combination.
Okay.
And we did add $4,500 for improvements. I don't know if you've been over to the driving range. It is very sad. The fence, the screening is like big holes. We've been patching it for years. The mats are disintegrating. These are all the original items. So we want to put a little love to a little gem over there, because I'll tell you, at any given point you go over there, all 10 bays are being used. So it's worth the improvement. And
Did we get bids on that, or how did
I just looked at how much mats would cost and netting would cost. We didn't get bids because like pieces together were not that expensive.
Right,
But
so you
anyway.
researched it.
Oh, I researched it. Yeah. And it
Okay.
also includes markers for like the 150, 200. If you look what the ones we have now are hand painted. So just want to spiff it up a little because it's a really beautiful little area.
Getting used.
And well used. Yeah. And lunchtime, it's wonderful. Next line is fall soccer, and personal services went up a bit. We are hoping, well, we would love to bring our referees and all of our summer help up to minimum wage. We were not required to pay minimum wage, but in order to keep the kids and to show their value, I don't think it's too much to ask for whatever minimum wage is now. Do you know?
State minimum wage is 15.
15.
So that's in here?
It is right in there for the personal services. I mean, we have 5 referees per hour. So that's why it looks like it does. And the next one is Youth Rec Spring Soccer. The miscellaneous and contractual raise is just for T-shirts and balls. It seems like some years we have to order more than others depending on the number of kids or the number leftover T-shirts we have from fall. So we may not need to spend the whole thing, but it's better to have a cushion. And then next is the youth playground program, which is 7314. All these numbers have stayed the same, but I will need to raise up the personal services a bit to cover the raise to get us up to minimum wage. But we can also change the rate that we charge for the program in order to make some of this money back.
What are they making now?
They're making like 10, some make 10 and a quarter, and the highest we have so far is 10.50.
And these are all the high school students?
Pardon me?
Are these all the high school students? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have noticed a drop. We've had to go into our junior counselors where we didn't have to before. And I know it's because they can go to McDonald's, they can go to Burger King and make minimum wage. Yeah, anywhere. So
How much is the program per week now for a child?
$55 a week.
I think like 15 years ago, it was like $20 a week.
Yeah.
It used to be free. I remember when it was free.
So we
We don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
Years ago. Yeah.
I know.
I
I
do
just want to
have- I do
balance
have a
like family
question on
costs
this.
with
15 years ago.
paying the kids.
You don't have any telephone and communications charge this year. Did we change that?
We do not, they have their own phones.
Okay, so we can take that
You can
$1,000
take
and
it
move
right
it up
out.
to,
Oh, for the
Right.
playground?
yeah.
Take it.
So take that $1,000 and put it up in your personal services line.
Yes.
And we feel like you can reduce your miscellaneous and contractual line as well.
Yeah,
Hang
how
on.
much do I
on.
spend so far? Because everything's closed out for the playground program.
You have it right there, Frank? 7314.
So they're gonna have to crunch some numbers on that then to see what the real number would be, raising it to 15
Absolutely.
minimum.
Yes.
So you've spent like $2,300 there, so
I'm sorry, you spent 5,700.
5,700.
So I,
So you have 20.
So just leave it flush. And what I would do is if you want to take that down to even 7,000,
okay.
then you can take another $1,000 and put it up in your personal services
Got
line.
it.
So you're still at 54.4.
Yeah.
You're just allocating properly,
Right.
right? So we're going to leave 6K here. We're going to,
And what
Up
did we
this way,
actually
too, yeah.
spend? Now, this was the estimated, but what did we actually send in personnel,
For your
the playground program?
playground program,
40,000
Yeah.
roughly.
just under 40,000.
Oh,
So there's five.
That might
A
be
difference of five right
that
there.
might be more than enough.
I think it will be.
2,000, Yeah.
Yeah.
The junior counselors are still paid, like they work for free for the
Yeah,
first
they still
year.
work for free. But what was going on is they were trained as the CIT, then 1 year junior counselor, unpaid volunteer, and then counselor. Kids were not returning because of the rate. I was having to bring up younger kids, and it was a no-no with Department of Health, so only certain kids could go up. We are short staffing some of the playground programs and only being able to cut, like, instead of taking 65, we can only take 50
Right.
kids, so. And I think we probably should have done it a while ago, but it's about time that we raise their, to at
Right,
least
it
minimum
speaks
wage.
to-
Yeah,
Speaks to quality, safety, and
absolutely,
yes.
yeah. And it'll keep them
And
coming
keeping
back.
the price down for families.
Absolutely, yeah. And at $55 a week, it's a bargain. Yeah, total bargain. Next is youth recreation contractual programs. The only change we had was with other youth programs, because the actual for this year was, I can't remember what it was.
$10,915.
Wasn't a lot.
10,915.
10,915. We left it at 16 because I would like to add more programming. These usually use this line for newer programs until they explode and then they get their own line. So. And I think everything else stays exactly the same.
I know they're revenue dependent, but I feel like we need to look at baseball, soccer, lacrosse, and tennis
Okay.
offline,
Okay.
because if we're going to decrease the expense, we also have to decrease the revenue.
Absolutely.
But
Well,
I-
this is other youth, I mean, up here, this 4686. These all are.
Right, but
Yeah.
I'm saying offline, I think we need to discuss these.
Got it. Okay. The problem is we don't know,
I know,
you don't know
that's what
how.
we got to talk about.
Yeah, it's hard to tell how popular it's going to be. All righty. Next, community events, 7550. We took out the fall fun run because since COVID, registration has been going down. There's a lot of competition with other races, and with the amount of work that went into it, it just wasn't worth hosting this event. So we're putting our efforts into National Night Out and a float in the holiday parade. So, which we're very excited about. And this came up after the budget had been put together. So I would like to see if we could add a line or add it to the miscellaneous, $2,000, not knowing.
Actually, you need more than that, because you're at 8,500 already this year, because National Night Out was such a success.
Okay.
Yeah, we should mention that a lot of this was offset by donations and grant monies.
But did the
correct?
money go over?
Yeah.
Now, so there was $1,500 in donations, and the way it works is all of the gifts and donations line, the revenue has to be met, right, before we
Okay.
can move the
Oh,
money.
I see what
And
you're saying.
And there
So it
is
can't go line by
there is
line.
excess there, but you only had $1,500 in donations for the National Night Out.
Okay.
A lot of the other donations were CDPHP for other things.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So we'll look at that, but I feel like we need to take that line up honestly to like $9,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was.
And I'm going on a shoestring budget for this parade this year. I'm trying to do the best I can. So I really have no idea how much it's going to cost, but we're working on it.
And this is for anyone listening,
Yeah.
this is the Schenectady parade that Niskuna has never had a float, I don't think
No, ever.
And they contacted us and asked us if we want to participate. And we were like, why haven't we been doing this all along?
Mhm.
And this is the one that goes the Saturday before
Before Thanksgiving. Yes.
right?
And we are
So-
so excited.
Yeah. They're pulling together resources for this year. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Okay, very excited about it.
So what do you want to put in that line?
Well, we're at 85 right now. Can we get, I would love to get a good, like, to know how much is offset by those donations too. but
1,500.
Should we go to 10 maybe is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking?
So there's 1,500 that you can offset by revenue for the donations for that
Okay.
line.
How do you guys feel about 1,500 being allocated next year for a float in the parade?
Seems
Representing
reasonable.
Niskuna.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
What are the guidelines for it? Like, what are our plans? Is it gonna be?
Well, this year, if you want to tell them about this year, I don't know what next year will be. I don't know if they do themes or
There was not a theme this year. So they said, just keep it general. So this year, Ray is giving us a flatbed. My husband will be pulling it in his SUV, and it's going to be Candyland. So we can make a lot of the decorations. We're going to make the whole thing ourselves. We have someone at the high school is going to help us with painting. So it's going to be a nice collaborative effort, but
and we could always try to find some donations for that 1,500 so we could
Absolutely.
increase it and then
Oh,
try to bring in the
absolutely.
revenue
Yes.
so that it's not hitting. Okay.
because even for the fall fun run, we were always able to get donors. National Night Out, we got donors. So
Yeah.
Patrons, yeah.
yeah, I don't think we'll have a problem at all.
Yeah, I know for this student district, too, they do photography or some donations and like we're able to find people who will. I mean, one year I think someone donated like a little mini shed that they put on. So
Yeah.
Just, there's donations out there.
Got it. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, thinking 10?
Yeah. Well, and just to capture the National Night Out, because we expect to do that same thing again, hopefully offset by as many donations as we can get.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. And I'm just going to skip over this one and then you can go to C.
Sure.
Then adult recreation, 7620. We increased the personal services line to 1,500 from 500. We were able to get back into the gym at BA, so we've added adult basketball back in this year. So this covers the cost of our rec attendant who's
Hang on,
working.
because I think that's low. I have 2,500 here. So I think you maybe exceeded.
Is that program still going?
You might want to check, because I think
just
the
came
VA
back up
gym
again.
got flooded again.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I think they're having all PE classes outside and in the auditorium.
Yeah, they're replacing the gym floor, but I think it's going to be done by the time they go inside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a flood and a big mess over there.
So you're already at a little over 1,500. And you have
For-
another program for the personal services under adult rec.
Oh, okay. So
Right,
that
so
includes
That's,
Tai
I
Chi and
think that's just Stefan.
Stuff.
men's basketball. Okay.
So what do you, you know,
2,000?
I was going to give you 2,500. I'll give- I'll-
2,500?
I'll
No, I go for
2,000.
25. 25 sounds great.
I don't want to be over in personal services. You know,
Right.
I want to be accurate.
Got it. Yep. No, that sounds great. And
So what do we
Subject to
decide
change,
there?
of course. 2,500. All subject to change, of course. I'm going to throw the disclaimer out there. This is our first round, right?
right. All right. And then you want to do senior program?
Sure. So this is my first time at this table, which is wonderful. I'm very excited about this. So senior recreation, it's 7610. There's a change to the personal services full-time, which is half Lori and half myself. Personal services part-time, which encompasses includes the staff of the girls down at the senior center. And everything else has stayed the same as 2024. So that's the equipment, supplies, meal program, field trips, and everything else.
And the
Jean, can you
girls?
put the microphone near you just so
Oh, I'm
people
so
could hear
sorry.
you at home?
Increase for the girls.
Yeah, so there's, going back to what I was saying is personal services full-time is half Lori and myself. There was an increase for personal services part-time. There's an increase for the staff down at the senior center from 70 to 75,000. And then everything else has stayed the same for 2024.
Okay, so on that note, I don't think 75,000 is enough for the personal services because it's October and we've used 82% of the budget already.
So we went
And they
through
pay on a lag.
and mapped out, what did we figure out? We mapped out 20 hours for two of them, 21 hours for one of them, 11 hours for the other weekly, and then did with that increase, they haven't been increased in a while.
At all.
We gave them a slight increase and it came up to 75 and change.
I don't think it's enough.
We could
What?
bump it up, but if we want to, I mean, how inconsistent are their hours? Like, are they pretty-
33 and a quarter, 33 and 3/4. Mind you, this
That's
is
per
a
pay
2-week
period?
per pay period.
That's what we were thinking. Yeah.
But I think maybe we need to really delve into that a little bit more because I don't want to see her short in those lines.
Do they off?
Deserve an increase.
They do. They do a great job down there. Can we figure out, like, do we have timesheets that we could just look at to see how consistently they're working those hours? And then if they're
And
like,
pull up something with the hours, the number of hours each one works per week, get an average, and then figure out.
You can drop it into Excel from Eunice and just throw in an increase.
yeah,
and-
Okay.
let's
Yeah.
do that.
Yes, we will get you that. Because they deserve it.
Also, we can take that vehicle and equipment gas line, the 4150 line, down to 0 because they no longer have a gas vehicle. The vehicle they have is diesel. So that could offset some of the shortage.
Nice. Thank you.
And Lori and I had discussed earlier today, we need to look at the charter communications because I feel there might be a shortfall there. They're just charging us ridiculously. The telephone and communications line.
Is that for internet?
It's internet at the
Yeah.
senior center.
Did we look to see if is that the same payment as the pool? Remember we were looking to see how long that lasts for? We should, do you know what I mean? Like how long that?
I feel like there's two bills there. For some reason it's different. The pool has Gabbit, which is phone and internet. And this is Spectrum. And it's
I feel like-
$129 a month.
Well, there's also AT&T Mobility coming out of that line,
Which is the
Imperial
supervised.
Security System coming out of that line.
That-
Yeah,
one
that's
of them's
coming
the
out of
bus
that line.
driver's phone though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause the
yes.
Bus driver's got his own dedicated phone.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's probably
And he needs, he really needs to have that. That's
Yeah, I
not
think
that
that's
much.
Gabbit.
That's $26.98 a month.
You got to ask Josh, might have to look into
I
that
was
because
just
they
gonna
had
say that.
Spectrum down there and had all kinds of problems with Spectrum, but I think they still have it, don't they?
Oh, they do still have it.
we should have, maybe we could ask Josh if you're
Yeah,
back there,
internet
Josh.
problems. There's Josh.
Do you want to help us with that? See if we can look into the,
I actually started with First Light. They're gonna look at all of our internet accounts and like put them back out to bid. So maybe
Nice.
we can, everything can go down.
Oh, that would be
That would be
awesome.
great.
Thank you.
Yay, Josh.
Yeah, there's a lot in this line. I really feel like we need to delve into it.
the communications one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
know
we've got
he's
cell phone stipends, we've got Gabbit, there's just,
and all of that has been shuffling around since Josh has been looking into alternatives. So we probably can, yeah, we can fix those a little bit too.
so we're going to move this 300 up here.
And I think that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions for me?
So for the meal program, I'm just like looking at past years, and I know COVID was a little year, but we know why it almost tripled, right? Like since 2019, is that something where? So
Are these the Gershon's meals?
meal program, it went from like, I'm just gonna round it up to 10, now it's at like 30.
So this is offset by revenue. So anything that's in there is going to be either coming in as grant money that helps to pay for each meal or them paying for each meal, which we're kind of massaging that, but it should balance out.
Perfect. And then my other one was the firework display. In past years it was 0, then it jumped up, or we.
That's Niskaday. So I don't know the history of it.
We've been paying $5,500, I think, for as long as I've been here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it just was in a different line before, but I feel like once upon a time somebody else sponsored it, but I can't remember what it was, like a million years ago.
Well, a long, long time
It
ago,
went way down.
it was NCAP was sponsoring it, I
Yeah.
believe.
But I think they got a donation that's
Yes.
covered it. And then they said, oh, we don't have the donation. And so now, okay.
Yeah, we've been paying for it since as long as I've been here because I know
But-
it's been.
I will say for $5,500, it's a pretty impressive show.
Yes, it is. I agree.
Well, and actually, this covered, did you have National Night Out fireworks as well?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think ours, it was a flat 50.
had our
The
own
way they billed us was a little weird.
Although I think we had $100 fee for the town clerk. We had to pay a fee this year. I recall something. I'll have to ask Michelle about that later on.
Lori, do the repairs for the town pool come out of highway?
No.
Parks?
One up there.
Should be right
No,
next
you
It's
don't
not under
cross.
town pool.
No, because right at the pool line, doesn't it?
Does it come out of parks?
It may come out of
Equipment and capital outlay.
buildings,
Oh, buildings,
A00
okay.
1620.
Got it. All right, so this is just.
Everything property owned by the.
Oh,
Shared services, shared
Got it.
building.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
sorry, Bill.
Shared services, shared.
Yes.
No, buildings, just buildings.
Because you had
1670 is
mentioned
shared
the
services.
golf
Well,
course
shared
getting
services
the-
buildings, yeah.
improvements.
I always think of shared services as 1670.
And what Charlie and Ronnie can do to get that pool up and running is miracles.
Right, you had just talked about the tennis or the golf improvements. Those were under something different, I thought.
Oh,
It's okay.
sorry, that's buying new equipment specifically for that location.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah. If there was like damage to the pool, we would use the 2,000 in that line, but
okay,
that's.
got it.
No questions. Come on, Bill.
Lori, this is what we've got in the budget right now. Adequately provide for your department for the year.
It does, with all the tweaks you've made, I'm very happy with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We're going to take a brief recess.
Thank you. Good job, ladies.
Five 5:35.
Yeah, it went from 8% to what?
It started out at 12.5, we were like, no. And of course, our collective bargaining agreements, we have to have like what is in, it's actually an addendum to the collective bargaining agreements, we have to keep the benefits the same. So we were like, that's not gonna work, we have to go out and look at other non-CDPHP plans that would have the exact same benefits. And they just are in the process of doing that. We were able to get them to say, oh, maybe we
Right.
can come down to, and then it became 8.5.
It became
Now it's
that one.
3, and now I have to wonder, what are they doing to people who are not asking questions?
Really?
And that's a big change.
It's a big change, it was a big,
Making a lot more money.
yeah, right,
That's the only difference is they just end up making more money off those people.
yeah.
Benefits are the same.
Then everything, it's the same plan, it's just a 3% increase, which for health insurance, for, you know, it's
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially when it was going to be a 12% increase.
Yeah, and Jonah and I were talking, in anticipation of them trying to do that again next year, we're gonna start looking at some alternatives early in the year. Health
For?
insurance. The
Consortium.
consortium we have that we use for our
Mhm.
retirements might possibly be a way for us to go for actives, but it's a big project, so we wanna make sure it's something that would be valuable, spend a lot of time.
But I do want to say that we really played hardball with CDPHP because they came in really high and we were like, nope, go to market. And now all of a sudden they're scrambling to have our business.
Excellent.
Big account to lose.
We are a big account to lose. They did do that quick, which sadly just shows you how much they try to overcharge
Gotta be
us.
willing to- Yeah, you gotta be
It is.
willing to walk away. Once you walk away, it's funny how people get you back.
Well, you know what? We're gonna shop.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
the picture.
I mean, we literally went like,
I was like, okay, all right, that's fine.
Good.
Okay, I think we're gonna move right, we're ahead of schedule. We're gonna move right into receiver of taxes and assessor. And then we're gonna take a quick break. I think we're gonna have a break before our finance meeting after that.
You're actually first on the page. So you might just get up here and get it over with. I promise.
All right, where are we with Diane?
Page 2.
I'm gonna skip over personal services full-time and personal service part-time for now.
Can you speak up?
Is that on?
No, it's not on.
Is it on?
There's a red button at the bottom.
Thank you, Joe. I just said I'm gonna skip over personal service conversation right now for full-time and part-time. Equipment and capital outlay still 0. Training and memberships is 100. I do pay for my memberships myself. I know I'm not supposed to. I mean, they're only like $50 a year. So I probably should.
We really need to change that.
I know.
We really
I
need
know
to
you've
change
had
that.
this
Well,
conversation
just,
with me.
why can't we just change it and you submit that?
I can. Yeah. So that, I mean, 100 is fine. And supplies and materials, I haven't had any change. I think we should be on track with that. Miscellaneous and contractual. I had a discussion with Frank a little bit today. I'm a little concerned if that, I don't know.
I believe you need an increase. then.
Yes.
Tell me what that is, because when I looked at it, it had really weird numbers in it.
Yeah, we did. There was a reprint. So there was a school warrant legal notice, a school tax billing printing, a property tax billing printing, and another legal warrant notice. The printing services are really what's killing us. But
Well, they're going to be keep increasing.
yeah, they're going to keep increasing, and it's not like anybody's going to offer us a better deal than where we're going now. So I feel like in order to be fair and accurate, we should probably bring that up at least another $1,000
to 45.
Yeah.
And what would you say would also be included in that too? Like, I mean, the only thing I'm kind of going off subject here is in the past, for 2023, I had talked about a capital project for my office is falling apart, basically. I mean, it hasn't been
the whole building
painted or the rug moves up and we can trip on it. So that was supposed to be in 2023. And then
I'm not sure
had
that would go into
discussion
your
with-
line, though. That might be buildings.
I believe that's
Right.
buildings. And is that part of that 100
Yeah,
whatever
there is-
thousand that
But it
was
didn't
set
happen.
aside?
It didn't happen in 2024 either. I mean, I know, Janet,
It
you were there,
didn't.
but when Frank and I spoke with Beth in the summer, I didn't know.
She
if it was
moved
gonna be-
money. Do you recall?
So there is that capital project for all of those kind of renovations, but that's something you'd have to set up with Charlie and Ray
Yes.
to actually get that moving.
And I
forward.
think they're aware.
We
I
have the
think
money for it, but we don't.
it got moved over in like August or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And it's
Yes.
going to roll to next year if we don't use it. I mean,
It'll be there. Yes.
honestly,
but
the
we
problem
probably
is having
should
the
start a
manpower.
list of
And
road
also, as far as my office goes, it's a matter of timing too for collection time, when they can actually work in
Right.
there and
Yeah.
that issue too. But I don't think that anything except for maybe chairs would fall into miscellaneous and contractual. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
You needed chairs for the
Yeah.
office. Didn't we just?
Well,
get
that would go in.
chairs?
no,
Maybe
I
that
didn't
wasn't
get
you.
them.
Oh,
No.
you didn't get them?
I did not get them. So, but that would be
Okay.
into miscellaneous and contractual.
But wait, let's look at that because maybe perhaps you can get them this year.
Yes, that's what I was talking to Frank. There's like $300 left there, but that's a conversation off the topic. So, so I don't know if we want to go back to personal services part-time. I know that half of it is listed in Public Works water and sewer. Right now in my office, it is myself and Lois, my deputy, and I see the increase would probably be, obviously, for Lois, the COLA, right? It does not always usually listed in
And
there,
I think she's
though.
getting a step and a
A
COLA.
step
But
and
I'd have
a
to look that up to verify.
It's a step and a COLA for Lois. As far as myself, I just kind of want to echo what Michelle Martinelli said. I've been here 15 years. I know I'm an elected official and I kind of conflict with that I'm here for the residents and understand that, but it is still a cost of living. So I know there's a committee. That's just the part for myself, and Lois should be. I don't know how a supervisor is changing her to that
Yep.
position, but I feel comfortable.
She's just a COLA right now
Yeah,
because she's maxed out on her steps.
right. So if changing her to a supervisory, but I feel comfortable with that. I don't know. Maybe we have to have a further discussion. I mean, she's been here also 15 years. She wasn't made full-time until 2019. So, but
How many she's allocated all through?
General fund, sewer 1, sewer 6, and water 1.
Okay. She was on our list of COLA adjustments, right?
Yeah, it's just a COLA though. She's
That's
she's
not a
maxed out on her step.
Okay.
So that's something that we can sit down and look at.
yeah, and that was my own. And so just switching over to personal services part-time. Right now I don't have a part-timer. I do. I mean, I feel like if something it may be needed and be trained within the year of 2025. I don't know if that's still at an $18 an hour. That would get me no one for, really 4,000 salary for a part-timer for a year. So I'm not pushing it, but it's just something that I probably would need to look at. God forbid if something happened to my staff. It's just, it still is a very valuable office and time consuming and a lot of things go through that. So that is my only concern. I want to look at how I could increase or hire a part-timer at that amount.
Did you ever have one before?
Yes.
You did,
Mm-hmm.
during collection time, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
2, right?
Yes.
On and off. Are they both
Yeah.
gone?
Yes.
I wasn't notified of that, so I need to
Oh, I
terminate
told
them.
Margot.
It's okay.
When did that happen?
Lorraine was, well, Jackie's kind of said she'd still come in, but
Lorraine,
Lorraine is, I told Margot that in 2024.
yeah, it's okay. She's still, it's okay.
All
I'll
right.
take care of it.
I'm sorry. So really this year, but I think it was lowered. Was that lowered?
How is she making? I'm just curious.
Okay.
So that just happened this year. Now, let's talk a little bit about the printing and the mailing of the school tax bills. In the past, we hadn't charged for that, is that right?
We have been charging for the past 3 years now.
We have been,
Mm-hmm.
right.
For 3.
We have some more money that
Right.
we,
3 years.
That's 2 years.
2 years.
that we didn't have before.
Yeah, so now what happens
Right.
is when those bills are prepared and mailed out, I'm given copies of the invoices and then I break them out between Colony and Niskayuna and mail them out invoices for both the postage and the processing from Vincy's.
So we're getting our expense covered just for the printing.
For the printing and the postage for it.
And the
they both
postage.
Paid us,
Oh,
they
yeah.
paid us both last year without an issue, both school districts, and I just mailed them out like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago for this year, and I don't foresee them not paying them. We actually, 2 years ago, back billed them for a few years and they
Oh, so
made
maybe
us whole for it.
that's
Good.
what I was thinking then.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
How much was that about?
It's
About
two-
2,700.
Plus the 3,000, I think, for Vincy's. So between
Yeah.
the 2 different Vincy's and postage, it was 5,700 and change
Hmm.
that we'll be getting back.
But it doesn't come back to my line.
No.
But what?
It doesn't come back to the supply line or anything like that. It goes
Right.
to the revenue line. It's
That's the school district reimbursing us for printing?
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
It's Colony and Niskayuna.
Colony and Niskayuna.
Because we do both of their billings for them.
So yes, Lorraine was at 18. And that was, a 2023 rate.
Yeah.
I don't think 20 is unreasonable.
I don't either.
Start there and We have to get bodies in the door.
I know, that's,
keep
and I'm
saying
just
that.
afraid that that's why I would not get anybody. And I know for 2025, I really probably need to bring someone in. So,
All right, so I think we'll have to do some more research on that, if you will, a number of hours and stuff like that, and then see what that number was gonna be
mhm.
at whatever
20.
hourly rate.
Well, I'd have to figure it at 20 hours, I think.
That's all right. Most of the time,
Okay.
most of the time, we'll
Okay.
pull out of the system.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So other than that, everything is okay with your budget and what
Yes,
we've
it
got
is.
here adequately provides for you?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Gotta ask
Good job.
I like it.
Thank you.
I like it.
every year.
Every year, every department. If he didn't ask it, I'd take his temperature. Or his pulse, rather.
Well, we don't put this together in a vacuum, right? They met with Beth, the department heads before, put it together, and there's been meetings before this,
And there'll be more.
and there'll be more.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me here. For anyone who doesn't know me, Eric Amberger, I'm the assessor. It's my job and the job of everyone in my department to have a fair and equitable assessment role. We do have a smaller budget compared to a lot of other, or easier budget anyway. This year we have something with the equipment and capital outlay. My senior clerk, her chair is quite old. It's peeling. And now it doesn't keep itself in an upright position. We have to buy a new one. If I can grab it out of this year's funds, I will, but that's in there for this year. We have a line, the next line, the Board of Assessment Review. Basically, it pays for grievance day every year. The fourth Tuesday in May, we have 5 members of our community sit on the board, and they take time out of their schedule to do this, to do the hearings and deliberate, and this just compensates them for that. Training and memberships. So I have $3,000 in. A nice thing, the training that I go to is reimbursable by the state. I'm told 80%, but sometimes it's more than that, could be less. Wherever their numbers fall, I'm not really sure how they do it. I did budget to go to the fall conference. And also have some room in there for my staff to take either ORPS training that's done locally, okay, or the New York State Assessor Association one-day seminars. Those tend to be Zoom meetings now, but if anything looks interesting for them, take it.
Is all that reimbursable 80% or just your?
Just mine.
Yours, okay.
Yeah. Although for my senior clerk, we made her a member of the association and she got her first training free, so.
Okay, good.
So for supplies and materials, that did go up, but that was because there's an error for last year. Last year, we did something called the Senior Second Notice, where we mailed that postcard to everybody in town. I'm sure everybody's seen it here, letting them know that there's exemptions available for senior citizens. It's budgeted for this year. And also, there's other things that would be in there that should have been in last year's budget, so.
So I have a question on that because it looks like historically you really you haven't spent more than $1,300. Oh, no, wait, I take that back. I'm sorry. You were at almost 5,000. I
Yeah.
misspoke.
Yeah, and
I'm looking at 2023.
And we've been roughly around $1,200 a year. This year was more just because we did that mailing. I think the final number was like $4,500. I'm not sure where that stood.
And
That
you don't
is
feel we need to do that every year, correct?
that is a state unfunded mandate,
The state's making us do it twice.
and there is no penalty for not doing it.
But that roughly cost us like $4,000.
Yeah. So I have it in there. So if you
No,
want to
you'll
have
be
that
right.
discussion in January of next year, we can do that. Just a little bit of information about that. Out of the major towns in the county, we're the only ones that did it last year.
Really?
Yeah.
We're the only ones that did it.
We're the only ones that did it. We got some goodwill out of it, but we only received 17 new senior citizen exemptions out of basically the month of February, my staff answering questions. The phone rang constantly. It was one after another. I'm trying to train a new person. And then we have to train her how to do someone's taxes because there's an income component to that. So we got 17 new enrollments out of that. And 54 basic stars were converted to enhanced star.
Well, good
So,
job, Aaron.
for any-
We have to do what's right
For,
for our residents, right? And that's the way you run your office.
I try. My philosophy with my public relations is keep my seniors and my veterans happy, and everything else after that falls into place. Yeah, but if there's a better way of doing it next go around, I'm all ears for it. If we do it,
Well, I mean, every other year probably would be sufficient. If we got 17 last year, is there that many new seniors that would be eligible every year?
we're going to have diminishing returns. I've done mailings in the past based on databases the state has given us of people who may be qualified for it. And the first couple of years, we had a pretty good response. And after that, we really haven't had as much of a response.
Do we have to send out all of them again? Can we like minimize our search a little bit? Or does that have to be as extensive as last time?
We could minimize the search. So that's, I mean, if I had if you're going to ask me if I want to do it, the answer is going to be no. If I have to do it, I will. If there's a better way of doing it, I'm all for it. And
Okay.
It does stand to reason that there's only going to be so many people that'll be eligible for it next year that weren't this year. So, but I do understand that you want to be fair to everybody and people have to be notified. But if we don't do it next year, maybe there's a different way that we could do it that's less expensive or.
If we put it on the website, would that meet the criteria or?
I'm not sure you would reach your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
well,
true.
the first,
I have
first-
trouble with websites. I'm only 58.
the first year we did it, the state dropped this unfunded mandate on us in January, and there was no way, it wasn't in the budget, there's no way we could react to it. So we did a legal notice. That was a second notice. It technically went out to the entire town. And I know at least Glenville in the county does that. They followed my lead on that one. I know I have things on my website. And of course, the senior first notice is on the back of the tax bills that go out in September and January. Okay,
so
that's a senior first notice. They're looking for a senior second notice to go out on or about February 1st.
I think we got to keep an eye on it,
And-
right? If we get diminishing returns where it's not really,
Now, if we
getting any people.
do any kind of newsletter for the town, I think that'd be a good opportunity to wrap what I'm saying into a larger newsletter, right? And
Right.
maybe use some of these funds towards that newsletter, because the mandate is the town has to do the mailing, not the assessor. I know I'm splitting hairs, but everybody knows the assessors are doing it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
We should talk. We'll talk more about
Okay.
that.
Yeah. So we have $21,000 in for basically cert appraisal administration. So that's really for when we get taken to court, mostly with the commercial properties. We have to have a commercial court-ready appraisal, and that would pay for that mostly.
How
I
has
just
that
think-
been running? Because we had a lot in there for 24 and you brought it down a little bit here in 25.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of movement on the Article 7s. There's a couple that are pushing for settlements right now, but it's not going to be $33,000 worth.
Is that something that in the future it'll go down to, or like depending on the cases and everything?
Yeah, this is looking into a crystal ball and seeing who's going to try and settle. A lot of them, they keep it going as long as they can. So, and they can ask to settle if they see the conditions are favorable to them. And miscellaneous and contractual, that's pretty standard. That pays for our real property tax aware software and other contractual items.
So are you going to take the cell phone stipend in 2025?
If I don't have to. No,
If you
not-
don't have to, then I'm going to take the
Yeah,
money.
you can take it out. I mean, my phone number's out there. I'm always available. Seriously, if anyone needs to contact me for whatever reason, right? If I'm available, it doesn't matter if you call me on my phone or a different phone. I'm there.
Where are you at right now with, like, I see a lot of legal notices for the Gazette and the Gazette.
Yeah.
Tentative roles, legal notices.
Yeah.
Various computer equipment. Background checks, you're not going to have to do that again.
I hope.
Because I'm wondering if perhaps we should take that $300 and put it into your miscellaneous and contractual line, because the cost of this stuff is going to go up.
Okay.
You want,
Yeah,
is that a deal?
that works.
All right. I'll do
Yeah,
it.
we are
I don't want to take money away
obligated.
from you.
We are obligated by the state to send out various legal notices during the year. I do one in March that says that my inventory is ready for review. I do one when I file the tentative roll. I do one when I file the final roll. So
Lots of rules to follow.
I try my best.
I'm sure you do. Any other
Okay.
questions? I guess not. So Eric, do these numbers adequately provide for your department for the coming year?
I expect that they will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we are going to take a break. It's about 6 o'clock. We're going to start our finance meeting at 6:30. Take a quick break for us. And we'll meet you back here, right? Isn't it 6?
I didn't, yeah, but what time is it coming?
Oh, it's here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like,
Yeah,
you
we're
can just
good.
Keep plowing on if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a quick break, about a half an hour. We'll come back.